Good evening, and welcome to FCTV's Poetic License, July 2022. My name is Sue Carlson, and I'll be your guest host this evening while Donna Shear is becoming the bionic woman with yet another hip replacement. Donna was always hip even before her surgeries, so we look forward to her hipness returning with superpowers when she hosts again in August. Our suggested theme tonight is freedom. On that note, please feel free to express other themes as well. Thank you to FCTV and Tony Sadera for making this and so many other programs possible. I asked Tony to feel free to tell me what he'd like me to share about FCTV, and here's what he told me. FCTV is now available on Roku and Apple TV. So if you subscribe to these streaming services, you no longer need Comcast to watch your favorite locally produced programs like Poetic License. The Falmouth Community Television Channel app can be added to your Roku or Apple TV channel lineup. The channel app features live streams of FCTV's 3 local channels and also video on demand of FCTV's programs like Poetic License, Falmouth in Focus, The Conversation, along with select board and other municipal meetings. For information, see FCTV website or call 508-457-0800. Speaking of FCTV programming, the program Falmouth is Cooking wants to know, what is your best tomato recipe that you make in August and dream of in January? Send your favorite August tomato recipe to Falmouth is Cooking host Gail Blakely at gailblakely@comcast.net by August 15th. Gail will test all the recipes, and the winner will get to appear and prepare their recipe on the next taping of the program. That's Gail Blakely at comcast.net. August at the gallery at FCTV will feature works by Carrie Fradkin, Judy Goodrow, and Susan Nowagrodsky. The reception will be held outdoors at FCTV on August 7th from 3 to 5 p.m. The show will include Carrie's colorful mosaic artwork, Judy's waterfront paintings, and Susan's elegant ceramic work. To make an appointment to see the work, email Tony at fctv.org. There are still openings in FCTV's popular Summer Vacation Animation Camp. August 8th through the 12th, ages 14 and up can learn 3D basics using Blender. Not to be confused with the kind you might use for Gail's cooking show. Blender is a free open source software platform that's a great introduction to creating 3D art and animations that are used in TV cartoons, blockbuster movies, and the latest video games. For more information, email Alan at fctv.org or call 508-457-0800. And now, the best of the evening, your creative shares. When I read your name, please unmute your mic and repeat your name. Everyone has a 4-minute time slot. Tony will help you keep track of the time. And now, some quotes from throughout time. John Fitzgerald Kennedy said, "If more politicians knew poetry and more poets knew politics, I'm convinced the world would be a little better place in which to live." Tonight's theme is freedom. Maya Angelou and President Gerald Ford both acknowledged that freedom is never free. Einstein said, "Freedom is only possible by constantly struggling for it." William Faulkner said, "We must be free not because we claim freedom, but because we practice it." Eleanor Roosevelt said, "Freedom makes a huge requirement of every human being. With freedom comes responsibility." Bob Dylan said, "I think of a hero as someone who understands the degree of responsibility that comes with his freedom." Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from the cup of bitterness and hatred." Mandela said, "To be free is not merely to cast off one's chains, but to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others." Martin Luther King Jr. also said, "No one is free until we are all free." My feeling is that determining how to balance one person's freedom with another's is what makes it so much more complex than everyone just randomly doing what they want in a state of anarchy. Buddha saw it from an inner perspective. He said, "No one outside ourselves can rule us inwardly. When we know this, we become free." And then there's John Batiste in his song Freedom, which to me celebrates the pure, unencumbered joy of creative expression dancing free. And that's what we're here for tonight. So I'll start with this poem called Enduring Freedom. Happy belated July 4th. Did you see fireworks? Not me this year. I'd rather celebrate Interdependence Day. But this poem is a glimpse of what I recall from past years. As if thrown into the air from a cannon, the cascades of sparkling, colored tinsel falling, falling, falling toward me while I lay staring at the sky from my blanket on the sand, felt like they would cover me in a canopy of welcome stars. Instead, they suddenly disappeared into a puff of smoke. They had melted into my heart like the warm, delicious bliss of hot chocolate on a cool summer's eve. I like to think we were both free to reach our greatest potential in that moment. The fireworks painting their masterpiece of stars, and I feeling their full presence in the very depths of my being. And now it is time for John Jackson. And that first quote about freedom, from John Fitzgerald Kennedy about politics and poets, made me think of John. So let's hear what he's got tonight.
Well, that quote from John Kennedy reminded me of something that Facebook reminded me that I posted a couple of years ago, attributed to Mark Twain. History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. Which I say, whatever's going on, it could be verse. Thee and me, we put words in sets, rhyming dictionary aids and abets. Play with them compelled till the meter has gelled. We have literary Tourette's. My name is John Jackson, and oh boy, have I got literary Tourette's. My main bag is limericksofprotest.com. It's political limericks, my blog, and there's been a fair amount of things to talk about this month. So let's get right at it. Roe versus Wade is undone. The conservative court has just won. There is no more maybe. She must carry a baby. She should also carry a gun. Established law is now in suspension. Next up, equal marriage, contraception. Your rights being blocked, but if you feel shocked, you haven't been paying attention. My freedom, I will never surrender. Safe abortion needs every defender. It isn't about female apart from the male. Human rights are not limited by gender. A coach gathers all of his players and leads the midfield to say prayers. Evangelical blindness drives out human Christian kindness if he only sees who isn't there. State of Texas, since US annexed it, has been vexed if Texas corrects it. They'll need a phrase to describe the next phase. May I humbly offer up Texit. Cape Cod natives leave driveways in fear of roads packed at this time of the year. They fear to get lost in summer traffic from Boston. Boston traffic's like this all the year. Jesus was a peace-loving bloke. To say otherwise is a joke. Can you claim as your own this man who is known for being so divinely woke? Let's raise a toast to the Hubble. Despite early myopic trouble, this made cosmic voyager the earthbound voyeur. Webb's resolution was better than double. T's second wife, hike Ivana, has gone to her eternal nirvana, was more esoteric than Junior, Ivanka, or Eric, but her ex is the real prima donna. A 10-year-old pregnant by rape has to go out of state to escape. The process prenatal at her age could be fatal, regardless of red state red tape. Let's see. Joni Mitchell at Newport somehow. Folk icons were united, and wow, 55 years later, her song somehow greater. She's sung for us from both sides now. Billionaires, mostly seen as the villains by the 99% poorer civilians. But forget reverse snobbery when it comes to the lottery. We're all buying ticks for Mega Millions. And a couple of off topic. Disney movies, as far as I can tell, steal any plot that will sell. Excepting Shakespeare, the reason I fear Shakespeare princesses do not fare well. The sirens sang the sweetest song, which we haven't heard for too long, but we follow the same toward whence it came, since we cannot admit we were wrong. And a little something for Donna Shear. Too stiff to walk, let alone play. Eventually, there comes a day when you're no longer hobbled. The doctor has cobbled a new hip, 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 hooray. Thank you.
That was awesome, that hip hip hooray. I've been playing around with the hip thing too. That was a great one, of course, from you. And so were so many of the others. You really touched on a lot of the things happening with freedom.
It's been a
And
busy month.
what's that?
It's been a busy month.
It has been. And I loved the Joni singing from both sides now. That was great.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. All right. So now, next would be Lynn Vitti, who doesn't appear to be here. So we'll hope to come back to her if she joins later. And we'll go with Marin Rutledge, if you want to unmute and let us know what you have to share.
Thank you, Sue. So if Tony will help and put on the screen the epigraph for my poem, whose title is Questions, it's more important, and you see the epigraph, which is the epitaph, as you can see, of a headstone in my town, Hanover, Massachusetts. And the narrator of this poem is, like unto me, a white woman speaking to a Black man. So I have not published this poem and welcome your feedback. That's the reason I have my website as part of my name on the Zoom screen. I truly welcome your feedback about what you think of this imaginative set of questions from a white woman to a Black man. On the edge of a path, your stone sits apart from the slate and granite crowds. How came you to this little town of farmers, merchants, fishermen, builders of boats? Excuse me, I'm going to stop so that we can read the epitaph. Joseph Washington, born in North Carolina, 1857, a slave, died Massachusetts, 1881, free. To the faithful, reward is certain. On the edge of a path, your stone sits apart from the slate and granite crowds. How came you to this little town of farmers, merchants, fishermen, builders of boats? Did you travel alone, with family or friends? Were you grown then? Did Robert, the Union veteran who lies nearby, carry you north at war's end? If so, was it for love or mercy's sake? As the victor's free prize to serve him? You died so young. I would like to know how. Perhaps you took sick or had an accident. Was early death an inheritance? Insides knotted with your soul south daddy's grief, or bones thinned because white babies stole your mother's milk? Was free your loud, proud claim? Someone's presumptuous boast when they carved this stone? Did you live free? And the pious summing of your life, to the faithful, reward is certain. How were you faithful, and to whom? Faithful to yourself? Did you push a lathe or plow puddle iron, or run a store? Did you teach, preach, love, but leave no heirs? And what reward? The hope of all who saw your worth? Joe Washington reads the lichened footstone. Did you choose the moniker Joe? Did friends' eyes light when they hailed you so? Did whites assume their right to abbreviate or obfuscate your biblical distinction? And what of your surname, Washington? Once freed, did you give it to yourself? Did the Washingtons buy and sell your people? Townsmen left just one more clue about you, a footnote in a list made long ago. Lived in the family of Robert, Saba, and Effie Church, your neighbors here beside you for eternity. I'd like to know on what terms you lived in the family. Did the Churches pen the epitaph? Did they love you for yourself? Under your headstone, someone has placed a winged crockery angel, cracked, headless, hollow inside, and glazed white. Ah, how she causes me to wonder about my questions. All around, acres of Curtises, Stetsons, Whitings, Whites, not any other reference to one enslaved or needing to say free. Thank you.
Thank you, Marin. That was the questions. There's so many questions in that topic on all sides, every way you look at it. And thank you for helping us explore them. Okay, next we have Jerry Reed.
Hi, Sue. Thank you for hosting today.
Oh, you're welcome.
So I have a song to share, and the theme is freedom. And so this song is, I guess you can say, a meditation on when there are situations in life where, as a psychologist, I hear stories all the time about what people go through and the struggle they go through. And I can tell you this much, is that when anger and hatred take over and people become consumed by it or obsessed with it or identify with it at its worst, is I can tell you that their freedom is completely gone, regardless of what's happening to them externally or societally. So in some ways, this is kind of a meditation on that human element of kind of finding freedom from within. Want to make sure that you can hear this, so let me just I think I have to change a setting real quick. 1 second. Share sound. Okay, so this song is called Be Uniting, and I hope you can hear it okay. Just give me a thumbs up if you can hear it. People, young and old, we are all shaped in our relationships, and without love there can be lies, even hatred. We're still left with this timeless question: people, why are we fighting? We should be uniting, live as one. People, don't let them divide us, 'cause what we need is inside us. Live with love. Depression and worries that never end, unraveling when pulled by every thread. And differences, all they appreciated, not separated by our skin. Now we're
what we need is inside us. Live with love. There's a difference in you, there's a difference in me too, yeah. But can we meet in the middle? Can we just consider all the different ways we all can be the change? People, why are we fighting? We should be uniting, live as one. People, don't let them divide us, 'cause what we need is inside of us. Live with love.
That was beautiful, Jerry.
Thank you.
I love it sounded like Morocco started.
Yep.
Yeah, that really added something. Ah, okay. Are you finished?
Yep, all set. Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. So next we have Patricia Austin.
Hi. It's great to see you doing this, Sue. This is wonderful.
Yeah.
Freedom is such an interesting question today. I agree with everything that's been said, but I think we have to also look at this last couple of weeks where we've lived through, along with the rest of the world, a heat wave that should pretty much give us pause or kick us in the tush or something. So I have two poems. One is about that. It's called Point of Fact and Food for Thought. The mystical process of photosynthesis, which takes place in the plant kingdom, a kingdom made of flowers and trees, brambles and weeds, forests and jungles, plankton and seaweed, grasses and wetlands, backyards and farmlands, utilizing the electromagnetic radiation known as light to transform water into and carbon dioxide into sustenance, nourishment, glucose, food for the world of vegetation, while simultaneously extruding, exuding, expelling oxygen into the air for the survival of the animal kingdom. The kingdom animalia in all its regalia, multicellular without chlorophyll, chirpy little furry creatures, birds that sing and colonize as wildlife, and civilized in congregate communities of human tribes and villages, eventually of nation states, creatures that breathe and share the air supplied by photosynthetic power. Stops at 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, that's one aspect of our freedom which no one wants to really deal with, and I'm not sure why. but this is the other side of the fence, maybe. This is called How Now, Power. I don't get it. I don't know how to rally forces, bringing about cohesive change for good or bad or both. It is the rallying capacity that seems to be missing, unless protected by political parties or expert religious hierarchies or personal shallowness, allowing one not to care about the other, about the consequences, the pain and broken lives in wake, collateral damages. It seems the fight today isn't anything we've cared about en masse in what we call the courses of our lives. It's all about power. Who has it? Who controls it? Who wields it like a primal club, an antediluvian truncheon as affiliated consortium, bringing the worst fears of Stanley Kubrick into reality. For it appears our destruction will be from within, not nuclear war outside our sovereignty, but neighbor killing neighbor from the bottom of our lines.
Thank you, Patricia. The second one, very, very heavy. Well, both of them were, but I really loved the phrase mystical process of photosynthesis and how your poetic presentation made science into sentiment. So we felt it as you were describing it. And thank you for the information. I didn't know photosynthesis stopped at 104 degrees.
And forward. And the thing is that a couple of years ago, it was horrifying to think Australia, when they had lots of the fires, they had temperatures of 104 day after day after day. Well, Arizona, Phoenix and Arizona had temperatures of 122 in this last phase of heat. So just so you know.
Okay, science lesson from Patricia Austin. So next is Maria Silverman. Are you there? We can't see you. Ah, there she is. So this is Maria's first time on Poetic License. Welcome, Maria.
Thank you so much. It's been wonderful so far. So my name is Maria Silverman, and I am going to share an excerpt from a longer poem called Carrying the Colors, which I wrote last 4th of July into contemplation of what the flag may have meant to other members of my family in an effort to bring both an understanding of the flag and of them to my son, who was then 2. So there are 6 parts to the poem. I'm just going to read the first 2. The first is from the perspective of my grandfather on my paternal side, who was a refugee from the pogroms in the Pale of Settlement in what was then the Ukraine. I never had the pleasure of meeting him. This is my wondering of what it might meant for him to come over. And then the second excerpt is from the perspective of my great-grandfather, who came from Italy. Thank you. The water was still. It had carried them so far, and now it had stopped. They stood shoulder to shoulder in a breathless silence, then murmuring in different dialects, praying in the fog. From the open water, they had seen the distant land, but now it was erased. Where was it they had come to? A baby cried out in the white wondering, a cough, and then behind the thick curtain, the morning sun began to burn through, blazing through the obscurity. He saw a great bema, and on it a copper woman, lifting the heavens with her light and holding the Torah in her arms. At her feet, a flag got caught in the breeze and unfurled its colors, red like the beets his mother held in her hands, blue like the threads of his uncle's tallis, white like the morning mist. A new prayer shawl in a new land. Behind the flag were words carved into the stone, a new prayer to learn. He had forgotten his own colors, green for the cypress in the hills, red for tomatoes on the vine, white for the dry earth that had chased him to the sea. So many crossings, first on his own, returning to Mary, returning to bring her over, returning to bring Mama over. His new colors waved from every door he had to enter. He had to push through them, disembarking on the dock, in the arrivals hall, at the train station, on the steam train itself, whose tracks crossed his Ohio street, on the swinging door to Isley's Dairy, on the lawn at St. Rose's, outside the dance floor in Idora Park, at the steel mill, its staff striving with the smokestacks. These colors were his gateway. This red of the smelting fires and the bricks of his backyard oven. This blue of his uniform and the pre-dawn sky when he woke for work. And the white, his new beginning, pouring forth in steam and smoke.
Beautiful, Maria, as usual. Maria sends me poems from time to time, and I'm lucky enough to be able to hear her work other times too. And one thing that I notice in Maria's poetry is this colorful imagery, and it really shone through in this poem, this excerpt from your poem. I loved the way that you juxtaposed the flag colors with the colors of the countries of origin of your family members. Thank you, that was beautiful. All right, now we have, Wayne Stuck. Welcome, Wayne. This is also Wayne's first time. And Wayne's got some music for us.
Thank you. I have played a lot of songs with a lot of pals for the last 3 years in town, but a couple of hundred, but I've never written a song in my life. And I saw your ad in the paper on, I think, Monday night or Tuesday. And I have the Coast Guard flying over me right now, but they'll be gone in a second. Yeah, they're looking for sharks. So I have a song called Freedom ? And, I cover a good length of things that have been going on lately here that we should be thinking about. They're almost gone. The Heights Beach, almost. Freedom in some states must be a dirty word. Nightly news records the violations of that word. All men are created equal, yet voices of women remain unheard. It seems their bodies remain the property of men, we've been told. One male congressman recently researched the thoughts regarding bold women a long time ago. If they got too bold, man said, treat them with a burning at the stake. LGBTQ folks are feeling threatened for their lifestyle, as if their choice was an easy path, a story not often told. When people of color rally peacefully, we quickly see boots on the ground. But when riders attack our Congress, no military could be found. Even children's books in school are buried in the ground. In case our history makes us uncomfortable of something that we found. When our children go to college, we can clearly see they go to value academic freedom, viewpoint diversity. But some politicians push indoctrination and cry anti-woke. They fear, they stoke hatred, they promote. It's more than just a joke. The real enemy of our nation is ignorance and fear, often spewed at dinner or with a cocktail or beer. But the founding fathers did well by us today. The system of a Bill of Rights for all lifestyles and representatives for all the thoughts that we might have. For any color, creed, race, whether straight or gay. Well, we better hope that we can stop the hatred home today. For now it seems like we're all wearing colors of teal, blue and gray.
Wow, was that your first song that you've written?
Yes.
Oh, we are honored to have that on Poetic License. That's wonderful.
It
Um,
took a while.
it's interesting that you ended with colors because it kind of brings together Maria's colors that she was talking about with yours, and it sounded like you just had all kinds of your feelings were freely flowing into your song, and the birds were freely singing a beautiful accompaniment with you. I don't know if you realized,
I did.
but it
You.
really was
Birds.
beautiful. It was like you had them, had an orchestra going, and you just had them going along.
I'm not
So
controlling.
that was very nice too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. And now we have Rosemary Dunmoller. So there you go.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Rosemary Dunmoller, and I am following on the heels of Maria with very similar feelings to the first poem I'd like to share. It's called Descended from Refugees. For years, I've been a descendant of immigrants. No more. I'm reassigned to refugee status by me. My ancestors were refugees, no different than desperate, illegal, displaced persons from Afghanistan, Syria, Ukraine, Guatemala. As if leaving the pale of settlement was an easy choice for Benderskis and Dunskis, or for Holmeses squeezed off farms on stone-necklaced hills of Ireland. Indentured servants, ghouls, sold from Normandy to Quebec. I am the child of refugees, 3 generations or 5. It doesn't matter. I need to write it, say it, remind myself how I got here. From economic, political, religious oppression to cultural, religious, economic repression. And I am the beneficiary of survivors, witnesses to prejudice, bigotry, hatred here and there, nobility of the have-nots. I am proud to descend from refugees, the indentured, used to keep wages low, schools separate, steal land from others, used, abused, sheltered in communities, given lands and jobs to subserve powers so others would starve, homeless. Refugees, using resources, giving back, paid and paying. And still, we revive our lives, go forward, ascend. The other poem I want to share because it really does make me feel I am free to write my ideas, to speak my mind, to speak for others as well, which I consider a responsibility. This poem is entitled For Russian Soldiers. I, also a parent, pray for your soldier sons wounded and dying. I do not celebrate their death or torment. I cannot. I cry for cinders in the air carrying dying thoughts, prayers. I mourn for the trauma some will bring home to share brutally. Are you afraid of predators on borders? Do you feel that? Your history is trauma, not dream, but nightmare. Your stories are sagas of survival after disasters. I pray for you to know the peace of a greater neighborhood, to find a close door that opens to the rest of us, where we can all survive. Your need to hold on to your possessions, your music, beauty, belief, salt, and honey is just. I share your needs to nurture children, care for land, have clean waters surrounding you, washing your pain away. I pray for your newborns to know love and peace, as we too need this knowledge. I know our nature is violent. I'm a birder. I watch small house wrens entering bluebird nests, killing babies. Just kill and be gone. Don't let bluebirds live. Wrenched from their nests and dropped below. Neither food nor space. No possession desired. Why does the house wren kill? Some creatures live to hurt and harm in nature or town. I get no answers to my questions, so asking is futile. Let others wonder why we creatures do this. I cry out, filling the skies with fists full of love and rage. Let us all not be what we've been. I cannot hate you, whom I don't know. I, also a parent, pray for us. Thank you.
What a beautiful prayer, Rosemary. Thank you. There's a couple phrases in the beginning that really just were so beautiful, where you talked about cinders in the air, carrying dying thoughts. Is that what the line was? Oh, I just, that image just really powerful. And another was the peace of a greater neighborhood. It made me think of all the refugees being refugees from one place to another, to another, to another. And really, aren't we all refugees in this one big neighborhood? That was beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And now, Jackson Gilman. I wonder if he has a story to share with us. And he needs to unmute if he wants to tell it.
I am unmuted and I
There
am
we go.
Hudson, and I do have a story to fit the theme. I call it Caged. Caging an animal can do a real number on its psyche, perhaps turning it catatonic or perhaps vicious. I know, because for nearly 10 hours I've been there. After college, my friend Jim and I had been doing tree work, and the time had come for us to go pro. And to be a licensed arborist in the state of Maine, you need to pass an exam. And that exam is given once during the winter in Augusta. So Augusta was 2 hours from where we were on Mount Desert Island, so we didn't want to take any chance of missing it because it's an early morning test. So we took the precaution of driving to Augusta the night before, scoping out where it would be, and then we're just going to drive around, look for some lodging on the cheap. And it's going to be too cold to camp out in the back of a pickup truck. So we're driving around, and I see a police station nearby, and I go, "Hey, Jim, so I hear sometimes that when, if it's really cold out, sometimes they let you stay in the station overnight. Can't hurt to ask." So no sooner had I made inquiry at the desk, the desk sergeant says, "2 lodgers!" So, well, we're not actually lodging. We're taking a test at 8 o'clock in the morning down the road. He says, "Hey, when the shift ends, you're back on the street at 6 o'clock in the morning." Hey, all right, we're in. All right, wallet. I give him my wallet, and it feels like I'm giving him, he's taking away my identity at the same time. We've now become low life lodger 1 and low life lodger 2. Belt! Belt? What is it? Were they going to lock us up, afraid we're going to hang ourselves? What's she? Yeah, they book us like we're criminals. And then they start prodding us down the hallway. And I have to hold up my pants. Move. And then they go down this hall, and the steel door closes behind us. And there is no turning back. And we're led down these stairs into the cellar jail. And as we're descending, it smells like we're going down into Hades. But the cellar isn't orange, it's kind of this puke green. And we're put into 2 adjoining cells. Great idea, Jax. Hey, well, we saved some money. We'll be out, at 6 o'clock in the morning. We'll just can grab some breakfast. It's just 8 hours. How bad can it be? And I look at the toilet and I go, oh, geez, that's bad. If this cell were given a rating like a hotel, I think it would rate like four turds. It's like the beast in the pen next to me sounds like he's dying of anthrax. What are you in for? Like being a cheap bastard, I guess. I don't know. Well, this place is so oppressive. It stinks to high heaven. And oh God, the fluorescent lights are buzzing. We're supposed to sleep on this hard slab held up by chains. And there's one light, one window up near the top of the cellar wall there, and you can hear every once in a while, the siren going by. And so we're trying to sleep in here with people hacking, like locusts, and the smell is like, oh God, just don't lose it. It's like, oh. And if I get any sleep, it's like this, this horrible kind of not real sleep. It's just like I'm dreaming, lucid dreaming, like I'm trapped in a tree with iron bars, and I'm trying to use my pruning saw to cut my way free. And finally, it feels like I'm in there forever. And but finally, I hear, hey Jim, listen, over the window there, you can hear traffic's picking up. Yeah, it must be morning now. We're gonna get out in it really soon. Jim, you there? Yeah, so I'm waiting and yeah, it's really, it's picking up. Yeah, it's morning. It's like, it feels like, 8 days have gone by. It's been going for a long time. It feels like 8 weeks have gone, 8 months have gone. Jim, I think they forgot about us. We're going to miss the exam. We got to yell for him. Jim, you there? I think we're 2 trapped animals. I think he's gone, fetal on me. But I'm starting to get rabid. I'll yell myself. We got to get it. Hey, we're not supposed to be in here. Good luck, buddy. We're not supposed to be in here. We're supposed to be out at 6 o'clock in the morning. Get us out of here. When finally some police come in, all of a sudden I'm like a little puppy that's peed the rug. They say, hey, night shift didn't tell us there were lodgers. What time is it? 7:45. Just give me back my wallet. Give me back my identity. Give me back my belt. Give me back my freedom. Just get light air. We race over to the test site. We get there in the nick of time. We are totally frazzled. We haven't had any sleep, had nothing to eat. There's a lot riding on this exam. And we ace it. But more important than what I learned to pass that exam was what I learned trying to spend 10 measly hours in the Augusta Hooskow trying to keep my sanity. And I realized that Mandela kept it together for 27 years.
Well, as usual, Jackson, you bring us along with you on your adventures. I feel like I was there too. And I'm glad we're out. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to close this. Everybody shared such wonderful things. And I'm going to close the evening with a final poem entitled Balancing Wind. This was written after the January 6th insurrection and before the January 20th inauguration in the year 2021. Upon awakening at 2 a.m. and wanting to think of joyous times in life, what came was this visceral sense of first flights of windsurfing in San Diego and later at Dowses Beach on Cape Cod. Now, in those days of the late 1970s and early 1980s, the boards were one design, long boards with large sails, as the sport had been invented not long before and was just gaining popularity. In case you're not a sailor or have never windsurfed on a long board with a big sail and no foot straps or harness, I'll share the experience. You're standing on a long surfboard with the base of a sail attached to it. The rest of the sail starts out in the water, which is filling the sail as you pull it up, causing it to feel more like an anchor than a sail. As you pull the knotted rope to lift the sail, your feet at first turn the slipping board in the water as you attempt to brace yourself against the weight. If you yank suddenly with brute force, you can hurt your back. And as the sail slowly rises and begins to spill the water, it takes a steady patience while it almost imperceptibly and then slowly increases its ascent until its full release into the air all at once in that last moment of transition. So you could easily fall over backwards and off the board into the water. If you manage to avoid that fate, and once the sail is in the air, you must catch the wind in the sail by tilting it slightly across the center line of the board. To steer left or right, you tilt the top of the sail forward or back. When the sail pops out of the water, all these things must be done in an instant and in relation to that moment's wind speed and direction, or else you could fall over backwards or be pulled forward into the water with the sail. After many spills into the water, and if you observe the wind, once you have felt the sweet spot of everything in balance, it's almost like riding a bike and you never forget how to do it. And those dynamics are all available in this poem and in life. Balancing wind. We are the sail, the board, and the wind in one synchronous, balanced, fluid voyage. We have felt the sail luff and spill its wind, and even felt it drag down into the deep. We have also been steady in our faith as it slowly rose again till finally bursting free from water into air and then providing a moment there of reckoning, which way to turn and how much force to balance with our own, to tilt in one direction or the other, all within a moment's graceful instinct of opening to the sweet spot of pure and balanced joy flying free. Thank you. So tonight's edited performances will be shown on FCTV's Channel 13 as well as its YouTube channel, and now will be available on the Falmouth Community Television Channel app on Roku and Apple TV. Email any thoughts and suggestions to tony@fctv.org. Thank you again, Tony Sedera. If any of you would like to be a performer, please sign up for the next Poetic license, which will be on Thursday, August 25th. And the suggested theme for August will be ocean. And we look forward to the return of that hip chick, our ongoing host, Donna Shear. Deep gratitude to you, my fellow swimmers in this ocean of freely and beautifully expressed creativity tonight. Keep it flowing. Thank you.